The core of the recent legal battle over birthright citizenship centers on an executive order that sought to deny U.S. citizenship to children born on American soil if their parents were either undocumented or temporary non-immigrant visa holders. This action aimed to reinterpret the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which states, "All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside." In a crucial legal victory for proponents of the long-standing interpretation, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit, joining the Ninth Circuit, upheld an injunction blocking the executive order from taking effect. These appeals courts affirmed that the order is almost certainly unconstitutional because it contradicts over a century of legal precedent. Essentially, the courts ruled that the administration's attempt to redefine the constitutional term, "subject to the jurisdiction thereof," was a violation of the explicit text and the established historical meaning of the 14th Amendment. 2. Legal analysis and reasons for the decision. The primary reason for the appeals court's decisive ruling lies in adherence to precedent, specifically the landmark 1898 Supreme Court case, United States v. Wong Kim Ark. This case established that the Citizenship Clause was broad in its application, guaranteeing citizenship to virtually all persons born within the nation's borders, regardless of their parents' nationality or immigration status. The executive order rested on a restrictive reading of the phrase "subject to the jurisdiction thereof," arguing that it excludes individuals who owe a measure of allegiance to a foreign sovereign, specifically the children of undocumented or temporary residents. However, the courts rejected this novel interpretation. Historically, the "subject to the jurisdiction" clause was only intended to exclude two narrow categories: the children of foreign diplomats, who are immune from U.S. laws, and certain members of recognized Indian tribes prior to statutory changes. The appeals courts relied heavily on the original intent of the 14th Amendment, which was ratified after the Civil War, to overturn the Dred Scott v. Sanford decision and ensure that all freed slaves and Black Americans were unequivocally citizens. By broadly granting citizenship based on birth, known as jus soli, the clause established a clear, objective rule, prioritizing the place of birth over the parent's lineage. The circuit courts concluded that any executive action attempting to narrow this definition without a constitutional amendment fundamentally oversteps presidential authority and ignores binding Supreme Court precedent. 3. Consequences and implications. The immediate consequence of the appeals court rulings is that the executive order remains blocked across the circuits that have issued injunctions, preserving the status quo of birthright citizenship. However, the litigation has created several significant implications. First, it has generated immense administrative uncertainty. Should the policy ever be enforced, it would create a vast, novel class of people born on U.S. soil who are neither citizens nor deportable aliens, potentially leaving hundreds of thousands of children in legal limbo and rendering them effectively stateless. This would disrupt vital federal and state services and documentation processes that rely on the current definition of citizenship. Second, the political push for this reinterpretation undermines a fundamental pillar of American identity. Birthright citizenship is seen by many as a unifying force, ensuring equality and preventing the creation of an inherited class system based on parental origin. By challenging it, the order threatens the stability of civic life and guarantees a prolonged legal and political fight, drawing attention away from legislative immigration reform. I.F. Prediction: the road to the Supreme Court. The administration has repeatedly sought Supreme Court review, arguing against the lower court's injunctions. While the Supreme Court recently limited the use of nationwide injunctions in a related procedural case, it has not yet ruled on the constitutional merits of the birthright citizenship question itself. Given the depth of disagreement between the executive branch and the circuit courts, and the constitutional importance of the matter, it is highly probable that the Supreme Court will eventually take the case to resolve the dispute. The question is whether the court's current conservative majority would uphold a century of precedent or embark on a radical reinterpretation of the 14th Amendment. If the Supreme Court were to strike down the executive order, the issue would be permanently settled for the foreseeable future. If, however, the court were to adopt the administration's narrow reading, it would fundamentally restructure American society, immediately creating a patchwork of citizenship rules across the nation while forcing the issue back to Congress. V. Solutions and paths forward. From a legal and political standpoint, there are only two paths to permanently changing birthright citizenship. The first, attempted by the executive order, is judicial reinterpretation. The rulings from the appeals courts indicate this is unlikely to succeed based on established law, requiring the Supreme Court to make a profound and unprecedented legal break from Wong Kim Ark. The second, and only constitutionally valid path to end birthright citizenship is to formally amend the Constitution. Amending the Constitution is an arduous, multi-step process requiring broad consensus, 2/3 of both houses of Congress and ratification by 3/4 of the states, that currently seems politically unattainable. Therefore, the most realistic and necessary path forward is the continuation of the current judicial defense, ensuring that the federal courts remain guardians of the established constitutional text. The repeated affirmation of Wong Kim Ark by the appeals courts shows that for now, the principle of jus soli remains secure through the judicial process.